it's Valentine's Day weekend as we're recording this, so we're going to give some love out to some of these stars here. So we'll start with our 5-star QB award, and for those that may or may not remember, we gave this award out to the best quarterback each week, regardless of what their recruiting ranking was. And in fact, if they had a not so good recruiting ranking, that actually kind of helped their status in this one. And our winner is Dillon Gabriel. He originally was a 2-star recruit. I think before, when he was originally recruited he was going to go to Army. He was signed to Army. Then all of a sudden, I think people started to sniff him out a little bit, and then he wound up. I think he bumped that up to a 3-star as he signed with UCF. But this year, it was just the culmination of a great career for him. He was the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year. He finished 3rd in the Heisman voting. He led the Ducks to a 13-1 record. Their only loss wound up to be the eventual national champions in Ohio State. He wound up breaking career records in the NCAA for most career touchdown passes in FBS history, most career games and starts, which he broke the record from Bo Nix, his predecessor. And he had won this award twice during the regular season. So kudos to Dillon Gabriel, someone I know that you have spent a lot of time with over this season.
Yes, and we're going to spend more time with him because he is our guest today as well, live and in person right here. First guest we have ever had in my little Venice Beach studio. So fired up for him. He's training for the NFL Combine, which is coming up in a matter of 10 days or so. Also, of course, training for his own pro day and then eventually the NFL draft. So he's going to come over tonight and we're going to have a conversation right here where we will present him this award in real time. We got a fun little twist when it comes to that. So check it out later in the episode. I think for me, Jim, when I think of Dillon Gabriel, I would tell my wife this. I was like, he's one of the very few players that I've covered I've been in college football now 25 years, which is crazy to think about, and broadcast for 17. He's one of maybe 2 or 3 players that I've been around that I would ever go on vacation with. That's how I describe him. I'm like, I just want to hang out with Dillon Gabriel. Like, he's got the it factor. So what is the it factor? We say it all the time. It's, can you walk into a room and can people feel your presence? And you make everyone better. We had a chance to watch him at the Elite 11 this summer. You can go back and watch that episode in the archives at yoption.com where we did our first real in-depth sit-down with him. And I watched him walk into a room of 20 high school quarterbacks, 4 other big-time counselors, and not only command respect, but do it in the most disarming, like, ohana, aloha type of way. He's just got this beautiful vibe to him. And then I watched him. We have photos of this that we've shared online. He and Pete Carroll, who's now the head coach at the Raiders, who also need a quarterback. But I watched Pete Carroll and Dillon and other guys like Cade Klubnik and company just bang around the position. And I sat there kind of as a fly on the wall navigating that conversation at the Elite 11. And I said, this guy is special. And then the moment that really solidified it for me over the summer was there's a moment at the Elite 11 finals where we have basically an accuracy challenge and we throw what is coined the rail shot, which is down the sideline. Think of like a cover 2 hole shot. Remember Tua Tagovailoa national championship game a handful of years ago. He comes in for Jalen Hurts and wins the game. That exact throw. And he is just spinning it. And he makes his way to the finals. And it's he and now a Cal quarterback in Jaron Sagapatelli. And they're going back and forth. And I know you remember because you're smirking. At the end, and Dillon's matching every throw with Jaron. Dillon just misses and dirts it on purpose. And he goes, give that man the win. Hook up my boy from Hawaii as well. And I just thought of that regard that he had for the craft, the regard he had for the Elite 11 event. He was there for the first time, was really special. Then cut to, I called his opener and then tracked him in the title game, the Heisman. We were there. Tim Henning, thank you for our new Heisman gear, by the way. In the set, we got a helmet, we got a mug, so fired up for that. And then called, did the pre and post game show at the Rose Bowl, and I've just been able to watch him at so many stops. And I think what nets out, and I'll ask him this later on in our interview, is what matters most to him. Because when he was getting recruited, to your point, as an unheralded recruit, he could have gone to a military academy. He said no, and then UCF came in, and then late came USC and Georgia. And for him, what always mattered most was playing. And I love that because he goes, I went to UCF to play. I didn't want to go somewhere and sit. And then after that experience, he gets injured, goes through, some challenging times like any quarterback does and meets the adversity. He looks to move on. And he's on his way to UCLA. And then Dorian Thompson-Robinson decides to come back. And he's like, no, what matters most to me is not living in LA and living in Chip Kelly's offense, which, again, now he's the OC at the Raiders. Just throwing it out there. Yeah. He decides, no, I want to play. Goes to OU. Kills it there. And then he gets his draft grade. And it wasn't what he had hoped. So, again, what matters most? He wanted to play. Found his way to Eugene with Dan Lanning. He was courted by everybody under the sun in the country. Was a preseason front runner to win a bunch of awards, ended up winning a bunch of awards, and then, of course, found his way to the Heisman as a finalist. And I just love who the man is. And then just to put some extra magic on it, we interviewed his mom, Dory, on the podcast as well. We didn't interview the quarterback dad. We brought his mom, and her spirit is exactly what you'd imagine. She's a competitor. She's an inspiration. She's a communication major. Back in the day, she was an athlete. But look how she shaped her son to lead in the style of integrity that he has. And I believe it, man. Of all the quarterbacks in this year's draft, and I'd even put in last year's draft, if you had to rank their it factor, I put Dillon's right at the top. Cam Ward is a special kid. Shador has, unique traits, obviously. Last year was awesome with Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. and Caleb and Jaden Daniels. Like, they're loaded. But I do think if you're going to talk about that factor, I think Dillon is the best I've ever seen. It's the best I've ever seen in my, relatively lengthy career now, being around quarterbacks. Why we wrote the book. Shout out to 5-Star QB, which is why he wins the 5-Star QB award. Congratulations, Dillon Gabriel.